So, first things first, Troy, how are you?
Very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm alright, thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So, I'd like to start in the beginning.
Yes,
Your parents were musicians,
they were.
and so was it kind of assumed that you'd play music?
Not really. I think it was, since a really young age, because I was surrounded by music and my mum and dad used to sing a lot in the house, my dad became a bit of a role model for me. And yeah, my dad became a role model, and I just wanted to, like a lot of sons, they want to be like their dads. It just so happened that my dad played a guitar and sang, and but it must be said they were very supportive of the decision that I made at an early age to be a musician. So it kind of coloured my school years, made me a bit lazy. I wouldn't turn in homework on time, and because I'd be thinking about trying to learn guitar parts for some old Pink Floyd song or something.
Sure. And then, well, you mentioned Pink Floyd, and then I also read your father had quite an extensive record collection.
He did. It was massive, from Johnny Cash and Hank Williams through the Eagles and country rock and folk music. He was a big Pink Floyd fan.
Right.
He was into all that kind of progressive rock in the 70s. So I was constantly being bombarded with all kinds of different music from all over the world.
Are there one or two names or albums that stick out for you, if you remember?
Yeah, the first two albums I ever bought with my pocket money were the soundtrack from Jaws,
Okay.
which had a massive effect on me, and also Tuomas, my friend in the band, that had a big effect on him too. We both love soundtracks, and Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, which when I was about 10 years old, it completely rearranged my world for me.
But the soundtrack to Jaws, that is quite an interesting one. So what about it? And you say Tuomas likes it as well. What about it?
It's hard to describe. It was probably because I got the soundtrack to Jaws before I'd actually seen the film.
Okay.
So I think it was the fascination of how music can trigger visual emotional responses to visuals, and how they were connected, and that's always fascinated me. How music can trigger visuals and vice versa. And from an early age, I was always interested in symphonic music, but only in the context of film.
Okay.
I didn't really understand symphonic music outside of film. And Jaws was the first. Then after that, I would collect film soundtracks.
And then this visual connection you have with music, is that still there?
Oh, very, very much so. Yeah, very, very strong. That's the way I always approach music, is visually.
Okay.
Whether it's internally or the surroundings, you know, what I see
Okay.
around me.
And well, obviously you started playing the Uilleann pipes.
Yeah.
What age were you when you picked it up?
I got my first set when I was 18.
Okay.
Before that, I was playing whistles.
Okay.
I was playing whistles earlier. But I fell in love with the sound of the pipes from an early age.
Because well, both instruments, the pipes and the whistles, very traditional folk instruments.
Yeah,
so was that part of the musical upbringing as well?
Well, that kind of came a bit later.
Okay.
I first heard the pipes played by Paddy Maloney on Mike Oldfield's Omadhaun album, which had a massive effect on me. That fusion of world music and rock music,
Right.
which I'm still a big fan of. So I first heard the pipes there, and the Chieftains, a traditional band, and from a soundtrack, a TV show called Kidnapped, based around the Robert Louis Stevenson book. And I heard the pipes in there, and I thought, what on earth is that? What is making that sound? Is that some kind of animal that's singing? And that's where I thought it was for years. I didn't know what they looked like, because they were a pretty obscure instrument back then.
Sure.
And I thought it was some kind of weird animal from another world. that was singing.
And then when you then go on to try and master the instrument, how do you tackle something like that? Because it's not a very accessible instrument in a way.
Absolutely, it was really difficult. But I felt driven and I felt compelled to get a set. And I'd been on to my dad about it for ages, so he loaned me the money. But I was a guitarist first. But I threw everything into learning to play the pipes, and I could only do it. It was oral. Well, it kind of is an oral tradition anyway. But I just listened to lots and lots of pipe and music, and basically worked it out from there. I had a book, a rare book on how to do the fingering, how to make the scale. But that was it. I was kind of adrift on my own in my little piping boat, and I had nobody to help me. It was difficult.
I believe, were you at this time also playing in your parents' band?
Yeah, I was. I started playing with my mum and dad when I was 16, playing guitar in a country and western band up in the north of England, up in Cumbria, and that was a baptism of fire. For a 16-year-old going around, adult working men's clubs and playing songs. So that was formative for me.
Is there one thing you remember from that time that kind of stuck with you over the years? A lesson maybe?
Yeah. I was 16, and I remember I was playing, and I had a cowboy hat on, as you do, and this woman jumped. This really large woman jumped on stage and kissed me, but really violently, and knocked my hat off. And that was really weird. And my dad had to take control, but that was odd. And playing that music at that time in the north of England was a curious brew altogether.
Because when the Uilleann pipes kind of came with it, did you envision a career in music in the sense that you have had now?
Yeah, I did, because I never wanted to do anything else. I was set on this path, even though it meant extreme poverty, for years and years and years and years. Relentless struggling, as it does. If you want to be a musician, you've got to be prepared to struggle, especially financially. But to me, it's a test of how devoted you are to music. If you can't take the hard times, you should go and do some other work.
Was there a moment amongst all these hard times when you thought, well, I'm on the right path, I know I'm on the right path, it might not...
That's a good question. Yeah, there was a pivotal moment when things were at their lowest. A particularly famous and a really good friend of mine, a famous folk singer and a pop singer at the time in the UK called Barbara Dickson, asked me to play the pipes on her album, and then asked me to tour with her. And from that point on, things started to gather momentum for me. I started to do a lot more work with other people, a lot of other bands, a lot of recording sessions, stuff like that. So that was a little bit of a door that opened for me, and that was back in 1993. Up until then, it had been, various ups and downs.
But you never thought about doing anything else?
Oh, never. I couldn't do anything else. I'm useless at everything else.
But you mentioned the session work you did, and I remember Roy Harper, you did some session work for mid-year.
Absolutely, yeah.
With working with all these different artists, do you take away bits and things about music or about the industry?
Again, another excellent question, because moving into different styles of music can do nothing but enhance your awareness of different types of music and can colour the way that you approach different types of music. So playing with Roy Harper was a completely different experience to playing with Midge-Ure or Clannad or progressive rock bands or whoever I'd be playing with, because they're all different voices. But it certainly helped me to find my niche, my position. you know, especially playing the pipes.